Story time of how I walked in on my boyfriend trying to sleep with my dog. Yes, you did hear me right. My boyfriend tried to sleep with my dog. Okay, so at the time, me and this boy were dating for about 2 years. We usually see each other almost every single day, but because of COVID, at the time, me and my boyfriend couldn't see each other for about 4 weeks. So basically, me and him were trying to surprise each other at the same time. So to his knowledge, I was staying at my grandparents' house and I was supposed to come back Friday. So he decided that he was going to surprise me, and my mom let him stay the night at my house Thursday night so he could surprise me when I got home Friday. So I heard about him trying to surprise me, so I decided I was going to come home Thursday night instead so I could surprise him. So comes Thursday night, I come home, I turn off my Life 360 so he doesn't know where I'm at. I get home, I ask my mom where he's at. She said he was in my room. Mind you, it's about midnight at the time because I couldn't get home till then. I walk into my room and I kid you not, he was trying to sleep with the dog. Pants off, everything. And the dog is a boy. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I caught my boyfriend trying to sleep with my dog. So after I walk in the room and see his pants down trying to bang the dog, I don't know how, but for like 3 minutes he does not notice that I'm standing there staring at him, watching him trying to bang my dog. But then finally he looks over and me and him are just making direct eye contact, like staring at each other like, This man had the audacity to say, I was practicing for when you get home. But your wee-wee inside my dog, yeah, no. At that moment, I was literally speechless. I did not know what to say. This man didn't even bother picking up his pants. He just asked me if I wanted to join him. And of course I said yes. So I went to join him and the dog. No, I'm literally just kidding. My exact words were, pick up your dang pants and go bang your own dog, you weirdo. He looked at me and said, will do. Like, what? I ended up going to tell my mom what just happened because I was so shocked, and she said, oh, I seen him doing that, I just didn't want to say anything. Like, what? Story time of how my dad slept with my 16-year-old sister. So yes, my dad did sleep with his biological daughter. So at the time, my sister was 16 and I was 14. Okay, so my sister and my dad had a really weird connection, but I just thought it was because he favorited her and he didn't really like me that much. He ended up saying his favorite was her because he knew that she was easy. But anyways, back to the story. Every single Friday, he would pick my sister up from school during lunchtime and take her back to the house, and they would have like daddy-daughter lunch there. And then my mom would do the same thing with me on Mondays. Okay, so my sister, one of her friends takes her to school and I take the bus in the morning. And I missed the bus one day. And at the time of me and my sister going to school, my parents are already at work. So I just decided that I was going to have a day off. And yes, this day was a Friday. I'm pretty sure you guys can already see where this story is headed. But I was in my room, I was just chilling, sleeping, and then all of a sudden I hear stuff happening between my dad. Part 2 of how I caught my dad sleeping with my 16-year-old sister. Continuing with the story, after my dad and my sister come home for their lunch, I get woken up from my amazing nap hearing my dad and my sister doing the thingy. When I tell you my sister was all for waiting for marriage, oh my gosh. My sister wouldn't even touch a boy in the wrong spot before marriage. So I don't know how this came about. But listen, I am nosy as heck, so of course I tiptoed all the way over to them. They were in her room. I whipped my phone out so fast, I acted like I was on a talk show, and I said, presenting. I opened the door, and I see my sister and my dad actually sleeping together. They were under the blanket, so I didn't see any private areas. My sister was really, really popular at school, so out of this situation, I got her to walk me around school everywhere. My dad bought me a car and gave me $1,000. Haha, I made him go broke. Then after I got everything I wanted, I told my mom. She kicked my sister and my dad out, and I'm pretty sure they live together now, but I haven't talked to him since. Story time of how my boyfriend ended up being my stepdad. So I was dating this kid, and me and this kid had, like, the best relationship. He was 19, and I was 17. And, I mean, we were literally always together. And my mom would always call him hot and stuff like that, but, you know, I thought that's just what moms do. And I didn't think of it in that type of way. So one day, my boyfriend got mad at me. And he was like, I'm gonna F your mom, become your stepdad, and boss you around if you keep up that attitude. And I mean, who would think that he's gonna actually try to do that? And I said, I would like to see you try. But again, we were just in a little argument, so about a month or two goes on, and I find messages from my boyfriend to my mom and vice versa. They were like sexting, and I saw things I did not want to see from my mother. So I went to go confront both of them, and I confronted my mom first. And, like, she wouldn't tell me nothing. She just told me to get out of her face. Oh, but my boyfriend told me they have been hooking up. But he told me I was overreacting because it's just my mom. Oh, just wait till you find out what happens next. I'm running out of time. Part 2 on how my boyfriend became my stepdad. So continuing on with the story, I told him that he was disgusting, and then I just ended our relationship. And like at first he wouldn't let me break up with him, but then finally we were just both like, okay, this is not gonna work out. So about 2 days later, I come home and I see him at my house, and I'm like, dude, we're not getting back together, so don't try. Like, you're weird. And he has the audacity to go, I'm not here for you, I'm here for your mother. And at that point, I was like, I'm moving out. And that night, I heard some noises that I didn't want to hear. And then my mom ended up getting pregnant again. She's only like 34, I think, but he's 19. So the age gap isn't really that big of a difference. But it's the point that my boyfriend decided to F my mom, get her pregnant, and now I don't even know how I'm related to this child. Yeah, so now my mom's pregnant with my ex-boyfriend's child. I mean, I'm so nice to the kid because it's my step-sibling's dad. But at the same time, I secretly want to, like, you know, inject him out of the game. In the game, I want to inject him out of his life, so, yeah. Here's a story time of how I got catfished by my best friend's dad. This story literally ends up taking a turn for the worse, so honestly, be prepared for that. So it was around 6th grade and I had just moved schools, and I put on my Snapchat story, swipe up to be friends, because I didn't really know anybody around me, so I kind of had no friends. So this one dude swipes up and he's like, hey, you're really cute, we should talk more. And I was like, aw, thanks, what'd you look like? He sends me a couple pictures of himself and he was so hot. So I was like, yes, let's talk more. So we start snapping so much that within a couple hours, he was #1 on my best friends list. He would never show his entire face. He would always show like his jawline and stuff like that. Or like pictures of his underwear. Literally all I ever got was jawline pics or underwear pics. I literally got so comfortable with this dude, I told him stuff that nobody else knew. I told him I loved him and that I was catching feelings. A couple days later, I stayed the night at my best friend's house. She had softball practice, so I stayed at the house with her dad. Once we get back to her house, after dropping her off at softball practice, he said he had a big surprise for me. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Here's part 2 on how I got catfished by my best friend's dad. Continuing on with the story, my dumb self didn't really think anything of it, so I followed him to his room. He closed the door behind me and he told me to be quiet. I was like, okay, what is this surprise that you have for me? He pulled out his phone and he showed me his Snapchat. And it was the Snap account that I have been snapping for the past couple of weeks. And the same guy that I confessed my love for. Mind you, I'm pretty sure her dad was in his mid-40s at the time. And I was only 12. He told me to give him my phone because I needed to be punished for my actions, so I did. I only did because I was honestly terrified and I had no idea what else to do. He told me since I told him I loved him, I needed to show him that I loved him. And he starts to take his pants off. I turn around and I run out the room and out the house. My house was only a couple houses down, so I ran all the way down to my house and told my mom everything that happened. I don't know if she really believed me, but he ended up convincing us not to press any charges against him. And I was never allowed to see my best friend nor him ever again. P.S. I never got my phone back and we had to move again. This is the story time that everybody's been asking for, but I'm not going to keep this up long. I'm going to delete it soon, so if you see this, you're lucky, I guess. Basically, he's my stepdad. He's not my real dad, but I thought he was my real dad my entire life. He does live in a different state than us now. Basically, yesterday he called everybody to say his final goodbyes and everything. Like, he spent the day calling people and telling them, like, goodbye, but nobody caught on but us. We were his last phone call, like his kids. Then we realized something was off and we realized his intentions, like what he was trying to do. I'm not gonna put, like, personal information out there, but after he did what he did, we could hear them slowly fading and slowly passing. He has been going through, like, a rough time lately, so I don't know. Sorry, my hand will not stop shaking. I literally don't know what's wrong. Like, it won't stop shaking. That's why I have 2 hands. Okay, so back to the story. Once we figured out what was he doing, he was literally in the middle of nowhere, like really where nobody could find him. About an hour later, the cops ended up finding him. I can't really say he's okay right now, but he is being taken care of. I'm sorry, I did not mean to give anybody bad thoughts on that post. That is just how me and my sister cope. I'm sorry. Story time of how I caught my teacher and my best friend doing the dirty. So everything was fine up until the middle of the year when she started acting really strange, and so did he. So at the time, I was 13 and she was 14. And I'm pretty sure my teacher was in his mid-20s or 30s. So basically, she's the type of girl who literally hates school and would do anything to get out of class. Then I noticed her getting early to class and not leaving until everybody else left. Then I started paying a little more attention, and he would always walk by her desk and slip her notes and candy and just weird stuff, and it was really, really strange to me. He also moved to her desk right next to his, which his was all the way in the back left corner of the classroom. He would also always make jokes with her, which I didn't really understand until I found out they were sleeping together. So on Friday, my mom messaged her parents asking if they could pick me up Monday because my parents were going out of town that weekend and I hated riding the bus. Well, I'm guessing she didn't know that I was going home with her Monday, So that Monday, I got into her mom's car and I asked her mom where she was. Her mom said that she was failing math and her math teacher offered to tutor her. This teacher was also brand new. I'm running out of time, so for part 2. Here's part 2 of how I found out my best friend was sleeping with our teacher. So continuing on with the story, I told her mom that I've never seen him tutor somebody before. Plus, she told me her grades were sky high in that class. I ended up forgetting my pencil pouch, which had my keys to my house in it, so I had to go back anyways. And when I went back, the door was locked. And he had something over it or whatever, but I could see under it because he didn't cover it all the way. And she was on his desk and he was kissing her or doing weird stuff. I knew her mom wouldn't believe me if I told her what I saw, so I just told her it was an emergency and she was in trouble. So we booked it back to the classroom. And at first we didn't see them, and then she seen a foot come from beside the desk. Mind you, we're peeking under it, so we couldn't really see much. She started banging on the classroom door and screaming. I've never seen her this mad. I was honestly terrified that I ran into a separate classroom. The teacher, to this day, I'm pretty sure he's still in jail, and she is still homeschooled and grounded with no phone. We found out that he was married with 4 kids. Well, was married. Story time of how I got sexually assaulted by my childhood best friend. So it was around 2nd grade, and at that time I had just moved, so of course I transferred schools and I didn't really know anybody. There's this little girl in the neighborhood, same age as me at that time, that would ride her bike up and down the street constantly until one day she finally talked to me. She was really sweet, and for a while we'd just ride our bikes around and play like normal kids would do. And eventually we started getting really, really close. My mom always told me she despised the girl and got really, really weird vibes from her, but of course I didn't care and I continued to play with her because, that was my best friend at the time. Until one day she asked me to play house with her, and I thought, just gonna be like sisters and taking care of babies and stuff like that. But that is far from what she meant. Mind you, we were both in 2nd grade. She started to touch me, and once I hesitated, she cautioned me that everybody does it and this was okay. Then she started telling me about the birds and the bees. I nicely nodded my head and just disagreed with her, and when I got up to leave, she pushed me back down to the floor. I'm running out of time, for part 2. Part 2 of how I got sexually assaulted by my childhood best friend. So continuing on with the story, after she pushed me down to the ground, she continued to touch me in all the places that I did not want to be touched. Keeping in mind that we were only in 2nd grade, I found this very strange. It was known as my no-no square, so I honestly did not want to be touched there. After a while of convincing, I finally just stayed still and she continued to do stuff to me. Finally, she let me go home, and as I was walking out the door, she whispered in my ear, "If you ever tell anybody about this, I will snitch on you and reverse the story." Honestly, I was just traumatized about what just happened, so I kept it to myself, and I honestly did not want to tell anybody because I didn't think anybody would believe me anyways. She continued to do this for about a couple months, and heaven only knows if I was the only person that she did this to. Because she did hang out with a couple other girls, and they honestly seemed a little scared of her. Anyways, to this day, she still sends me pictures of us from when we were children, acting like nothing ever happened. I don't know if there was something going on with her that I did not know, but to this day, it honestly still traumatizes me that a 2nd grader could do something like that. Storytime of how I found out that my boyfriend was sleeping with his stepsister. As crazy as it sounds, I literally just found the whole situation funny. So I was dating this kid, let's just name him Mark, for about 1.5 years. He had a bunch of step-siblings, and they were all younger except one girl that was 16. She was very protective over my boyfriend, but I honestly kind of thought that was just normal, She would always make up some strange excuse why she had to hang out with me and my boyfriend, so we honestly never could hang out alone. They were siblings, so I would never think anything of it. I honestly thought they were just really close. Then one day she said something really weird, and it made me start to think. I seen him slap her butt a couple of times. I kept my opinions to myself at first because, he's my boyfriend and I didn't want to start an argument, but then I said something. His reply was, "Stop overthinking, she's just my sister." Okay, well, if she's just your sister, why are you smacking her butt? Anyways, one night he wasn't replying to me for 3 hours, and I thought he was asleep. So I logged into his Snap to spam cute pictures of me and his memories, and I found videos. Disturbing videos. I'm running out of time, for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that my boyfriend was sleeping with his stepsister. Continuing on with the story, I saw videos of him sleeping with somebody. At first, I didn't know who the girl was because she went no face, no case. And of course, I was going to look at the video just to find out who the girl was. I mean, I was mad, so I really didn't care about anything else about finding out who it was. And I realized that it was his stepsister's room. Again, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Then a couple videos later, it was a video of them making out, so I was just like, okay, it has to be her. I logged out of his Snap, and 30 minutes later, he texted me and said, "Hey, did you log into my Snap?" I said, "Yeah, haha, I didn't mean to." Then I said, "So was it good?" Even though I saw the videos, he literally never admitted to it. After he found out that I knew, he blocked me on literally everything, didn't break up with me, just blocked me on everything and hasn't said a word to me since. His mom ended up texting me and was like she was very disappointed in me, so he had obviously told her some lies. His stepsister and all his family ended up blocking me on everything too. Again, I'm not sure what he told them, but I'm pretty sure they all hate me now. So yay. Story time. Okay, so there was this one teacher in middle school that nobody ever really liked. She always woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So this one girl that she picked on in particularly, literally her phone would be in her back pocket and she'd send it to the office because she could see it. And it was out when it was just in her back pocket. Or like one day the teacher told her that she could put her head down because she didn't feel good. And then she called on her and then like her head was down and she sent her to the office saying that she wasn't listening and being disrespectful when literally she didn't even do anything wrong. So she decided that when the teacher was not looking, she put a whole bunch of this super glue, I think. I don't really remember what glue it was. All over the teacher's chair, so when she sat down it literally stuck to her pants. The back of her pants ripped off and I think she had to go to the hospital or ER because of the chemical reaction her skin had with the glue. And literally nobody ever snitched on her because nobody really liked that teacher and knew how evil that teacher was. Nobody snitched on her, so the teacher ended up not working there anymore and actually quit because of that. And I'd do it again. Here's a story time of how me and my sisters almost got kidnapped. So my mom and her boyfriend were just going to go out and have a night to themselves, and I was home watching my two little sisters. At the time, I was 13, my two little sisters were 9 and 6. So around 6 p.m., my mom and her boyfriend leave. Me and my sisters just sit down and watch a movie, and then I get up to make them dinner. I get paranoid really easily, and while I was making them dinner, I look out the kitchen window, and I thought I seen somebody in the backyard. I text my mom and she gets on the cameras that are outside and she said nobody was out there. I continue making them dinner, we sit down and eat, and then we start watching another movie. Then we start hearing knocking. It wasn't coming from any of the doors, it was coming from the side of the house. I didn't want to bother my mom on her one night out, so I just took the kids and we went upstairs and watched a movie in my room. My 6-year-old sister at the time went to the bathroom and she came back in literal tears. She was literally crying so hard until I finally got her to stop and tell me what was wrong. She said as she was walking back from the bathroom, she seen somebody downstairs. I quietly lock my door and I put my sisters in the closet and I call my mom right away. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how me and my sisters almost got kidnapped. I called my mom and then she looked on the cameras downstairs and somebody was in the house. She never told me what the person was doing. I guess she just didn't want me worrying, but she called 911 right away. While my two little sisters were in the closet, my 6-year-old sister would not stop crying and I'm pretty sure the person downstairs heard her. At this time, my mom and her boyfriend were already on the way and so were the police. I heard him coming up the steps, so I quietly opened the closet door and promised my sisters that they would stay quiet and be calm no matter what. I didn't know what he was here for, so I hid in the side of the bed in front of the closet so that he would get to me before he got to the girls. I heard him just rummaging through stuff and stuff breaking. Then a couple minutes later, I hear the police sirens. Right as I hear the police sirens, I hear our bedroom window smash. While trying to stay as calm as I can, 3 policemen bust down the door. They grab me and my sisters and take us outside. About 5 minutes after they take us outside and put us in the back of their car, my mom and her boyfriend shows up. About 20 minutes later after he was caught, they did notify us that he was wanted for murder of 2 younger girls and 1 adult male. About $10,000 of our stuff was either missing or broke. Then about a month later, when we were capable to, we did move. Nothing has happened since. Story time of how my nudes got leaked to literally everybody in my hometown. This story ends up taking an unexpected twist, so get ready for that. So around 8th grade, I started dating this dude, let's just call him Jacob. Everybody in my school called us a power couple and like worshipped our relationship. So me and this kid, you know, all this romance type stuff. Let's just fast forward a year later. And he started to act just a little weird. He started disrespecting me in ways that no girl should be disrespected. And every single night he would beg me for nudes and would not let me go to sleep until I sent them to him. And if there's a night that I didn't send him nudes, he would threaten to post the ones that he already had, which he swore up and down he would not screenshot. But you know, he did anyways. Every time I tried talking to him and telling him how I felt about the situation, he would tell me that I'm crazy and no other guy would ever want me and I'd never find another boyfriend. So one night we got into an argument and I told him that I was sick and tired of dealing with a horny little teenager, and I guess he took that to heart. Literally 30 minutes after I said that, my parents called me downstairs. After 5 minutes of her screaming at me, she turned her phone around and there were my nudes. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how my nudes got exposed to literally everybody in my hometown. Continuing on with the story, after my mom is yelling at me for 5 minutes straight, she turns her phone around and I see my nudes on her phone. She keeps scrolling and they're literally on like 5 different Instagram pages. My heart sank literally so far that I couldn't even cry. My mom told me to explain, but before I can even explain, she was already yelling at me, taking my phone and sent me to my room. About 20 minutes later, after my mom calmed down, she came in my room. She said she was highly disappointed in me, handed me my phone, and told me to handle the situation myself. I FaceTimed my boyfriend. He said he had literally no clue what happened. After like 5 nights of having a mental breakdown and not even being able to go to school, I found out that they were sent to a group chat. So my boyfriend sent them to a group chat of about 20 boys, and they decided to literally send them to everybody, including emailing them to the principal, sending them to everybody's parents, putting them all over every social media possible. I then went homeschooled because I got bullied so bad for it. And I did break up with that Jacob kid. A couple days later, my ex's 20-year-old brother texts me. He sent me my own nudes asking to hook up. If I was smart, I would have went no face, no case, but I didn't. Story time of how I found out that I was dating my own brother. Yes, biological brother, same mom, same dad. So a little background information, my mom passed away when I was 2, my dad is currently in jail, and I live with my grandma. So at the time, I was 14, about to be 15, he was 17, about to be 18. So how this all started is one day I was at the baseball game with my friends, and he happened to be there. I was fangirling over this boy. Like, I saw him, and I was like, I'm going to marry him one day. I was feeling a little bold, so I went over and got his snap. And then I figured out that he had the same last name as me, and I was like, dude, that is dope. My exact words were, now I don't have to change my last name when we get married. So we hung out the rest of the baseball game, and I was starting to fall in love with this kid. Like, his smile, his laugh, I talked about him to my friends the rest of the night, and me and him started snapping for a while. So we started to hang out a lot. We may have hooked up a couple times, but I had to keep this all secret from my grandma because she forbid I dated somebody. So fast forward a couple weeks, we start dating. Months and months and months go by. Our 9 months come, and I finally tell my grandma. And this is where it gets bad. I'm running out of time, like, for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that I was dating my own brother. Continuing on with the story, me and his 9 months were coming up. Also, he was adopted and his foster family absolutely adored me, so they were okay with me keeping it a secret from my grandma. They were the ones to help me tell her. So not only were our 9 months coming up, but his birthday was the next day. And he told me the only thing that he wanted for his birthday was for my part of the family to know that we were together. So one day I sat down at the table and I was like, hey, I think it's about time that I tell you. And then I told her everything and she asked for a picture. I showed her a picture and she was like, "Aw, he's cute. How old is he?" At first she was okay with everything, and the age difference she was kind of iffy about, but then she accepted it. Then she asked his name. I told her his name, she said last name, gave her the last name, and she flipped out. She took my phone, didn't give me an explanation, and told me that if I ever spoke to him again, I would never be allowed out of the house. Finally, after she calmed down, she came to tell me that he was my brother. She asked if we had did anything, and I of course said no, but yes, we did. I'm running out of time, like, for part 3. Part 3 of how I found out that I was dating my own brother. Continuing on with the story, I didn't believe her not one bit, but then I realized the reason why I was attracted to him is because he kind of looked like me. No, I'm just kidding. All jokes aside, I did start to question because everybody did say we looked like brother and sister. I asked her for proof. She didn't have any actual proof that we were brother and sister, but then everything started adding up. I told him, and then he didn't believe me until he asked his foster parents who his parents were. Mind you, me and him never spoke about our real parents because we both told each other that we were uncomfortable speaking about it. Then we did find out that we had the same exact mom and dad. Me and him were both in absolute shock and had no idea what to do. I mean, we kind of were in love with each other, you know? So we decided to just date for a couple more months. I had to tell my grandma that we broke up and we were just hanging out and getting to know each other as brother and sister. But then we both decided that we needed to break up because it started to get a little weird. We never told absolutely anybody about this but my grandma. His foster parents didn't even know that we were siblings. And to this day, me and him do still flirt. Story time of how my crazy ex-stepmom tried to kidnap me. So my mom and dad are divorced, obviously. Okay, so here's some information that you need to keep in mind. My dad and my so-called stepmom are usually off and on a lot. This is also semi-important. I go to my mom's Mondays through Fridays, and on Fridays, my dad picks me up from school and I go to his house till Sunday. Well, one day on a Friday, my stepmom comes to the school to pick me up. She does every once in a while, so I didn't really question it. On the way home, she was acting really nice to me, but strange at the same time. She said that she was going to take me to some ice cream shop, and she needed my phone for GPS because apparently hers died. About 40 minutes later, I asked her, I was like, how far is this ice cream shop? And for about 2 hours, she kept saying, we're almost there, we're almost there. We then arrive at some hotel, and then she said my dad was going to meet us there. Everything just started to seem really off to me, so I asked her for my phone back. She then replies with no. Then I ask her why, and get ready for this. She says, because I'm your new mom, so I'm your boss. I'm running out of time, like for the crazy part 2. Part 2 of how I almost got kidnapped by my crazy ex-stepmom. Continuing on with the story, after she told me that she was my new mom, I looked at her and I was like, excuse me? Mind you, this conversation is taking place outside of the hotel. She said, daughter, no more questions. If you cooperate, you'll just make your life so much easier. So we check into the hotel and I'm literally just sitting on the bed staring at the wall. She tells me I have to earn her trust to be able to have my phone back. My mom and dad both have me on Life 360, so I was really just hoping that they'd figure out where we are and come get me. So this crazy lady ends up taking me to McDonald's. I was starving, so I got some chicken nuggets, and we went back to the hotel and ate it there. She was trying to act like everything was all cool, like she normally does, but I was honestly freaking out. Then she comes to tell me that me and her will be moving to Mississippi by ourselves, and I will become one of her own. Guys, at this point, I'm literally panicking, and I have no idea what to do. I was only 12 at the time, so I wasn't really that intelligent. Then we hear like 5 multiple bangs on the hotel door. I'm running out of time, like for part 3. Part 3 of how I almost got kidnapped by my crazy ex-stepmom. Continue on with the story. After we hear like 5 loud bangs on the door, we open it. Well, she opens it. She made me hide in the bathroom corner. And it was the police. I mean, I knew they would come because my crazy ex-stepmom is honestly really stupid. But just wait till I end up finding out what she was actually gonna do with me. They end up searching the hotel and finding me. So there were 3 policemen in the room. She was handcuffed already, and they had her on the bed talking to her, I guess. A couple seconds later, we hear a knock on the door, and I was thinking it was my mom or dad. No, it was 2 big men that she was trying to sell me to. Yes, 2 big men that she was going to sell me to. She was legit gonna sell me to sex trafficking. I think that's what it's called, I'm not sure. She's in jail, and so are the 2 men. I'm not really sure what went on with them 3. My mom did end up coming to get me, and my dad also drove up there just to apologize to me. My mom didn't let me see him for a while. But my mom and me ended up moving far just to be safe. Story time of how my uncle got cremated alive. So my uncle was a funeral home director in New York, and due to the extreme amount of increased deaths due to the pandemic, he ended up having to work at least 12 to 16 hours a day. So of course, almost every single day he was extremely exhausted. So my uncle went into the crematorial, laid down on one of the stretchers, and took a nap. And while my uncle was sleeping, a coworker mistook him for a 52-year-old man who died due to respiratory issues. The coworker then rolled the stretcher right into the crematory. Before his coworker could notice the mistake, my uncle was already exposed to temperatures ranging between 14 to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Then within seconds, he was reduced to ashes. There is currently an open investigation around his death. So there you have it, kids. If you work in a funeral home, never take a nap in the crematory on one of the stretchers. Story time of how I figured out that my sister was trying to kill me. So me and my sister were like best friends when we were little, but she was a very, very jealous person. So years and years go on, but her jealousy seems to start to grow. So I never really thought about it until I found out that she really wanted me dead. But throughout the years, she would do little things to get me hurt. For example, she pushed me off the top of our treehouse and I ended up breaking my arm. But every time I got hurt, my family would baby me and she would get even more mad. So at this time, we're about 16 years old, and I had to go in her room to get her laundry. And under her laundry, I found her diary, or journal, or whatever you call it. I was flipping through the pages, I found out some interesting and crazy things. Then one was named The Perfect Murder. What an original name. She had this big, huge dresser in her room. She went into a lot of detail about how she was going to kill me. But it stated that she was going to push the dresser on top of me and jump on it until I, then scream for help. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that my sister was trying to kill me. Continuing on with the story, after I read what I read in her diary, I decided it was best to keep it to myself. So about a month and a half later, I start to think to myself, and I'm like, okay, maybe she's not actually gonna do it. Y'all, I don't know why, but I was literally not scared that my sister was like about to kill me. So about 2.5 months after I read what I read in her diary, she calls me into her room and in this fakest voice ever goes, "Sissy, why are you being so distant from me?" I just looked at her like she was crazy. Then she goes, "I know you read my diary." At that exact moment, she looked psycho. I don't know what I was thinking, but right after she said that, my reflex was to knock her out. So I knocked her out, then I stomped on her head. I called my mom into the room and read her the diary, or whatever the heck my sister put in there. Mind you, while I'm reading my mom this diary, she's still knocked out on the floor. My mom then continues to say she's going to put her in a mental hospital. So to this day, my sister's in a mental hospital, and if you're listening to this and you ever get out, please don't kill me. I'm actually living an amazing life right now. Story time of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight. Honestly, it could have been longer than that, but I don't remember anything before the age 5. This story does get really crazy, so if you're easily triggered, please don't continue to listen. So from what I can remember, it started on my 5th birthday. My mom spent the entire day with me, then she ended up having to drive to Washington for something which was 4 hours away from us, so my stepdad had to watch me for the night. Right when she left, he looked at me and he was like, "You're mine for the night." Again, I was 5, so I didn't really know what that meant. So he told us that we're gonna go watch a movie in my room. So I had a twin-size bed at the time, and he laid in bed with me. So he wrapped his hand around me, then slowly put his hand up my shirt and tried to touch my boobies, which I don't know why he would, because I literally had none at that age. I remember turning around asking him what he was doing, and he put his fingers over my lips and kissed me. He repeatedly tried to put my hand down his pants, and because I wouldn't, he would smack me until I did. That night, I'm pretty sure this happened for about 4 hours straight. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight. So after that 4 hours of him touching me in all the wrong places, he told me that if I ever told anybody about this, he would hurt me really bad. So every single time he got the chance to, he would continue to do this for several years. So basically every single time I was left alone with him, he tried to rape me. And he would force me to do disgusting things to him. So then when I was about 9 years old, I started to realize that all of this stuff was not normal, and the stuff that he was forcing me to do was wrong in all ways. So one night he tried to do everything again. I refused, and he ended up hurting me really bad. The next day I was going with my grandma, and I showed her everything and told her everything. I had her help me tell my mom, and she was blinded by her fake love for this man that she didn't believe me. My grandma was so disappointed in her, I ended up having to move in with her. So to this day, she still does not believe me, and I still do live with my grandma. I am now 16 years old, and me and my grandma are just now going to court in a couple months for it. Story time of how we have the absolute worst luck with babysitters. In the course of 8 months, we went through about 5 babysitters until we finally just gave up. The first babysitter we're going to start with is, let's just call her Mary. So Mary was this young girl, and she seemed to love kids. We have many cameras in the house, and my mom overheard her telling her friend on the phone one day that the cameras in the house don't work. Mary, how would you know that? So one day my stepdad gets on the camera, and she is waxing her hoo-ha in our kitchen. Yes, waxing her hoo-ha in our kitchen. Then doesn't wash her hands and has the baby smell her hands. Then a couple days later, my mom was on the camera. She takes out the vape and takes a video of the baby trying to hit the vape. Then a couple hours later, I'm scrolling through Instagram, and on her Instagram story, I see this baby swag at 6 months old with her trying to get the baby to hit the vape. And look, the babysitters just get worse from here on out. Like for part 2 of our worst experiences with babysitters. Story time of how my stepmom had cameras in my room so she could sell recordings of me changing online. Mind you, I already deeply hate my stepmom, so it made me literally wanna, let's just finish the story first. Okay, so at the time I was about 14 years old, and me and my stepmom both had it out for each other because we both deeply hated each other. So one day I come home from school, I get in the shower, I come back into my room, and while I'm naked, I look over and I see this blinking light. I literally don't know how she did it, but the camera was literally in the wall. And I had this little wire decoration thing over my wall, so you could not tell at all because I already had stuff up there. Heaven knows how long it was up there, but I literally stared at the camera butt naked like, what in the heck? I run downstairs, grab a knife, and start sawing away at the freaking wall. And yes, it was a camera. I go downstairs to confront my stepmom, and as crazy as she is, she literally admits to it. She said, "I was making some bank off your body, hun." That's the exact words she said to me. I'm running out of time. For part 2, it only gets crazier. Part 2 of how I found out that my stepmom had cameras in my room so she could sell videos of me changing online. So continuing on with the story, she admits to me that she was selling videos of my body online and making so-called bank from it. I just blatantly say that she is a disgusting human being, and I tell her that I'm going to tell my dad absolutely everything, and when I do, he'll leave her in a heartbeat. She then proceeds to tell me that it was his idea. No way in my mind was I going to believe her that it was my dad's idea to sell videos of my body. Then she tells me if she can continue to do that, she'll split the money with me, and that she had already made $70K from it. Her phone was on the table. I literally grab it and throw it across the room and run off to my room. Right when my dad gets home, I tell him absolutely everything, and he claims that I'm a liar. He tells me that she would never do such a thing, and he proceeds to tell me that it's normal to have a camera in a teenage girl's room. I call up my mom and I tell her to get me right now. She gives me permission, so I cuss the two of them out, and it felt so good. We went to court for it, and no, she is not in jail, sadly. And sadly, she's still alive. But I no longer see any of them, but they have videos of my body. Story time of how I caught my grandma and my dad sleeping together. Yes, you heard me right, my dad was sleeping with my grandma. Sadly, I had to be the one to find this out and walk in on them doing the dirty, and it was probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever had. So basically, my dad told my mom that he had to start working late to get extra money. because at the time we weren't doing so good money-wise. So basically a couple months go by and my mom said he started acting really, really weird and then asked me to keep an eye on him and see if he's like doing anything strange. So you know me, the best daughter in the world, kept an eye on him and I didn't find much out. Until one day after I came home from school, I got locked out of my house because I didn't have my key and both of my parents were so called at work. So I told my mom and she works an hour away so she couldn't come get me. And so I just had a friend drop me off at my grandma's house. So I tried calling my grandma, but she didn't answer, so I decided I was just gonna go anyways. I go through the back door like I always do, and I wanted to sneak up on her and give her a hug. So I try to be as quiet as I can, and I walk in the room and see my grandma and my dad butt naked on the bed. I'm running out of time. Like for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that my dad was sleeping with my grandma. So continuing on with the story, I walk in on my dad and my grandma butt naked sleeping with each other. And by sleeping, you guys know what I mean. Oh, did I forget to mention that that's also my dad's mom? So I caught my dad sleeping with his mom. Mind you, my grandma's like 55 and my dad is 32. I mean, I guess it's not that big of an age gap. So back to the story, my first reaction was to take out my phone and start filming it. And my dad and grandma did not like that. But I just kept filming. My exact words were, I need receipts. By this time, they're both under the blanket trying to get dressed. Without me seeing their wings and hoo-has and titty-tas. At this moment, I was like, wait, I could be having the dream life right now. I could blackmail these two into anything at this moment. Then I was like, nah, I love my mom a little more than that. So I started thinking for a second about what I wanted to do. Then I book it out the house and send the videos to my mom. They did get a divorce. My dad lives with my grandma, and I do occasionally see him, but I live with my mom. Story time of how I found out that my little sister's teacher hid cameras in their bathroom. So my sister at the time was in 2nd grade and they have bathrooms inside their classroom. Well, it's just one bathroom inside the classroom that they all use. And at that school, 4th grade and below, every single classroom has a bathroom inside the room so the kids don't have to wander the halls. So parent conferences that night started at 6 o'clock and ours was scheduled for about 6:30. But we ended up not being able to make it at 6:30 because we had to do something, so we ended up coming around 7:45. Which at the time, everybody was already gone. So we go, and my parents sit down with the teacher, and they talk. We had gone to Sonic before that, and I got a blue raspberry slushie, and I ended up spilling that all over the floor. So I run into the bathroom, and I grab a bunch of paper towels, and right when I got in there, something just felt really weird to me. So after I cleaned it up, I walked back into the bathroom, and in the top right of the bathroom, in the corner, there was a box with a hole in it. I text my mom what I saw, and right after I get out of the bathroom, she says she has to go to the bathroom. I'm running out of time, like, for this crazy part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that my sister's teacher was hiding cameras in their bathroom. So continuing on with the story, my mom goes into the bathroom, and I'm not sure what she did in there, but my crazy mother comes out with the box that was around the camera, cussing, and I could not get her to stop yelling. The teacher then says that they have that in there for safety reasons. They have a camera in a 2nd grader's bathroom for safety reasons. Yeah, okay. Anyways, my mom was really, really mad, and they ended up calling the non-emergency number for the police. So then when they got there, they had to search his phone. I don't know what the police really do in this type of situations, but they ended up searching his phone. And on his phone, they found recordings of the students in the bathroom, and they found zoomed-in screenshots from the recordings of the children's private areas. My sister's teacher had also had recordings of other teachers using the bathroom, and zoomed-in pictures of their private areas. Yes, this teacher is in jail, and I'm pretty sure there might be an online article about it. But it's crazy to think that a disgusting person like this would set up cameras in a child's bathroom. Story time of how my dad decided he was gonna cook my cat. Yes, you heard me correctly, my dad decided to cook my cat in the oven. Just a heads up, this story does end up getting a little crazy. So me and my best friend are neighbors. So about 9 a.m. every morning, me and my best friend, we meet up and we work out. We use the app Fitness Coach. And just a little off topic really quick, that app is literally amazing. Me and her have gotten our dream bodies from it. And the link to that will also be in my bio. But anyways, back on track. We meet up every morning and we do our workout. And then afterwards, we come inside for like a lunch/breakfast. Mind you, my dad absolutely hated my cat to begin with. So one day we come in about 30 minutes earlier than we usually do. And we see my dad shaving my cat. He told me that something was wrong with her and all her fur was gonna fall off anyways. And you know, I believe him because why would I think my dad's gonna cook my cat? He said he was gonna take care of it. So I run to my room and I start crying because, you know, my cat's hurt. So 20 minutes of crying goes by. And I come out to see my dad trying to cook my kitty. I'm running out of time, like, for part 2. Part 2 of how my dad was gonna cook my cat. So then I walk into my kitchen and I see my dad literally trying to cook my cat. My cat is in the oven, just laying there. So I start freaking out. I literally start screaming and panicking, and my dad is laughing his butt off. Like crazy type laugh. I grab my cat out of the oven and it's literally not moving. And he tells me that he gave it some type of shot to make it like the shot makes the cat get injected out of the game. So basically the cat won't live no more. If he hated the cat, why didn't he just put it down or give it away or not cook it? This may be a little detail, but my cat's head decided to like expand because of the heat. Yeah, probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever had. Oh, I do not live with my dad anymore. Honestly, I was scared he was going to try to cook me next. My mom never did anything about it. Mom, if you see this, you're literally just as crazy as he is. And the minute I turn 18, I'm out of this house. And all I have to say is, Dad, if you're seeing this, I literally hope somebody cooks you in the oven or in a big old melting pot like the witches do. Story time of how I found out that my mom was putting our dad's ashes in our food. Yep, our mom would put our dead dad's ashes in our dinner. So basically, after my dad died, my mom showed zero emotion. It's like she really didn't care at all. Like she kind of wanted it to happen. His death was like an unsolved case, and nobody knows how he actually died. And now that I get to think about it, it might have been my mom, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. And if it was her and she sees this video, I don't want to end up like him. Anyways, back to the story. So about a month after he died, she would always post a picture of me and my brother's dinner with the caption, "You'll always be with them." Literally every single night. And honestly, nobody really caught on. All the comments were like, we're praying, this and that. Until one day I was just sitting on the couch and I look over and my mom was pouring something into the mashed potatoes. So I go a little closer and I see her pouring the ashes of my dad into our mashed potatoes. Listen, this story only gets 10 times worse, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how my mom was putting my dad's ashes in me and my brother's dinner. Continuing on with the story, after I see her literally pouring my dad's ashes into our mashed potatoes, and I mean, this lady literally sees me staring at her pouring the ashes into our mashed potatoes, and she like doesn't even say anything. I was just, a little shocked. So after that, I just kept quiet until after dinner, and I was mad at my brother that night, so I just let him eat the mashed potatoes. So after dinner, I went up to my mom and asked her why she was putting our dad's ashes in our food. And her exact words were, "Your father was a bad man. He wasn't meant to be here." I said, "What does that have to do with you putting his ashes in our dinner?" She goes, "It will just cleanse your soul. The witches told me to feed my children's father to them." Bishwa? I ended up telling my brother, but then me and him decided not to ever say anything ever again because we don't want her little spirits telling them to do the same thing with us, so. Story time of how my boyfriend got my mom pregnant. So to get started with the story, this all happened on me and my boyfriend's 4 years, and he was super duper close with my family. Like, we'd go on every single vacation together. He was there for every holiday. He was there at my house almost every day. And it was honestly just an amazing relationship, in my opinion. Well, until he slept with my mom. But anyways, it was me and my boyfriend's 4 year, and I had planned this whole big, huge surprise for him. So his mom gave me a copy of the house key, just in case anybody was wondering how I got in. But I had decorated his entire room and spent about $400 on decorations and then about $1,500 on gifts. I had told him that something came up and I couldn't hang out that day. And my mom's a loudmouth, so I of course didn't tell her. I just told her I was out with a friend. And he had told me that he was staying with his friends. So I just wanted to wait and let him have the time with the boys and let him see the stuff the next day. So I head home and then I head into my mom's room because I wanted to then tell her what I did. And I walk into her room seeing my boyfriend and her sleeping together. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how my boyfriend got my mom pregnant. So continuing on with the story, I walk into my mom's room and I see them literally sleeping together. Intensely. Very, very intensely. Looks like my mom was enjoying it more than I did. That's why you're 52 and divorced, mother. I hope you see this too. Anyways, I slammed the door so hard that I broke the side of the door and I run back to my room. That exact moment, I drove to his house, got every single gift I got him, yeeted those things in my car, mine now. That's why I get him gifts that I like just in case I ever have to take it back. Then I blocked him on absolutely everything and ghosted him. So of course I was really, really sad. And I went and stayed with my grandma for about a month because I was very, very upset with my mom. One day while she was at work, I come to my house to get some more of my stuff. And in my bathroom was a pregnancy test. Oh, and it was positive. Comes to find out, it's my boyfriend's baby. Oh, and that reminded me that I needed to take a pregnancy test. And as we're speaking now, I am 8 months pregnant with his freaking baby. Story time of how I got the best revenge on my worst enemy. So basically there was this girl that literally copied my absolute every move. It all started because the boy that she was dating tried to hit me up. So I guess she was trying to be more like me, I guess. And it all started when I got a puppy. Literally 2 days later, she ended up getting a puppy. The same kind of puppy. Then about a week goes on and I dye my hair blonde. Well, I bleach it. And she dyes her hair blonde. Okay, then the next day, I posted on my story about this app that I was using. It's called Fitness Coach, and I was getting my dream body from it. Also, the link to that app will be in my bio. But then not even an hour later, she posted that she was using it. Then I just noticed every single little thing that I did, she would also start to copy. She even started literally copying my outfits head to toe. So once I noticed that, I decided I was gonna try something out. And I bought a bald cap from the store. And then I posted on a private story with only her in it. Ha, guess what happened 2 days later? I'm running out of time for part 2. Part 2, if I got the best revenge on my worst enemy. Continuing on with the story, after I got a bald cap and posted on my private story with only her in it, 2 days later, she shaves her head. So this is the time where I try to confront the girl. Because at this point, it's obvious she's trying to copy me. And after I confronted her about her trying to copy me, she then tried to say that I was the one trying to copy her. And then switch up the whole story. But for about months and months, she continued to copy me. And now here's where the story gets bad. My puppy ended up passing away due to heart failure. And then, of course, I posted about it on my Instagram story. And that night, I was scrolling through, who viewed it. And I see her little fake account. And honestly, I didn't think anything of it. It took a little bit, but 5 days later, I see on her story, my baby will always have a place in my heart. Rip Moxie. Oh, I named my dog Roxy, by the way. And that's the exact thing I put on my story. Exact words and everything. I don't know what she did with the dog. And honestly, I'm terrified to know. But after that, I blocked her on absolutely everything because I came to the conclusion that she is crazy. Of how I found out that my 13-year-old sister was sleeping with my teacher and nobody ever did anything about it. So this is the first time that I'm actually telling anybody because I'm finally old enough to realize that all of this was just wrong. So at the time, my sister was in 8th grade and I was in 6th grade. So my sister claimed that she needed extra help in history. And I guess my mom trusted him because after school, he would take me and my sister to his house and then help my sister. And he would always say he had to get ready before he tutored her because they would go in the room with the door shut. But he said that was the only way for her to learn best. And while we were waiting for him to get ready, me and my sister would play this literal funnest and most satisfying game ever. It's where you grow little plant dudes, and me and her literally got so addicted to it. The link to that is also going to be in my bio. And then he would start playing the game with her, trying to get on her good side. And then they make me wait in the living room for about an hour while they study. And every day she would come out saying, "Oh my god, I learned so much today." I mean, she did learn something. Anyways, I'm running out of time for part 2. I caught my 13-year-old sister sleeping with her teacher. So continuing on with the story, I was just waiting outside the room until they got done. And one day my mom called me and said that it was an emergency and she had to pick us up early. So I knocked on the door really lightly and then I opened the door. And I'm surprised it wasn't locked. And I opened the door and I see my 13-year-old sister and her 42-year-old teacher just getting it on. I mean, I ain't no snitch, so I didn't say nothing. At the time, I was 11 years old in 6th grade and I high-fived her. Then the teacher bribed me with $500 to not say anything. Again, I was in 6th grade at the time, so my parents would definitely wonder where I got the money from. So the teacher told me that if I let them keep doing their thing, he'll make this fake raffle and say that I won it. Because me and my sister were so close, I never snitched on her. And this is the first time I'm telling the story. Me and my sister don't talk anymore. So if you're that teacher that gave me $500 to keep effing my older sister, you are probably one of the most disgusting people that I've ever met. And if this story gets out there, sorry for saying this, but I need to get this out there. John Wilson, you deserve to rot in jail. Okay, so I went to Target about 30 minutes ago. And I was looking for iPad cases, and the iPad cases and the phone cases are all together, but everything is locked up to prevent stealing. There was these two adorable girls. They were literally looked so cute and innocent. Pigtails and everything. The mom or dad or parent or guardian or whatever was nowhere to be found. Well, wasn't by them. And at max, they were 4 and probably 7. They were tiny little adorable things. One of them pulls a hammer out of their bag and starts hitting one of the phone case things, trying to get it out of the security thing. I already knew what they were doing. And I was like, girls, you're not gonna be able to get that out of there. Just go to the cases over there. Because there was a little section of dollar cases that wasn't security protected. The 4-year-old or the younger one looks at me and goes, "F you, B," but says the cuss words, throws their little hammer at my foot but doesn't hit me with it, then kicks me, then grabs the phone case security box thing, calls me a FAGG, then you know the rest, and said, "No, I'm stealing this one, bro." Story time of how I caught my dad and my stepdad sleeping together. So a little background information, my mom and my real dad got a divorce when I was around 4. So like the typical, on the weekdays I'd be at my mom, and on the weekends I'd be at my dad's. Then when I was around age 6, my mom married my stepdad. And since they got married at such a young age, I called my stepdad dad and my real dad dad. This story ends up with a lot of confusion and chaos, so just get ready for that. So everything started to get a little weird when my stepdad went to go drop me off at my dad's house one day. My stepdad actually went into my dad's house and they talked for about like 5 hours. You see, I went to sleep, and then the next morning my stepdad and my dad were both making me breakfast. And then I overheard my stepdad on the phone with my mom saying that he had an overnight shift. So I didn't say anything because every time I tell my mom something, she ends up believing my stepdad anyways. Because I mean, my stepdad's always right? Anyways, the next time that he dropped me off, my stepdad ended up staying again. Then I ended up walking into my dad's room, seeing both of their pants off. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. How I caught my dad and my stepdad sleeping together. Continuing on with the story, I asked my dad a question, so I walk into his room and I see my dad and my stepdad's pants off. One was laying down, the other was... You guys get the point. My dad quickly jumps off the bed, and he jumps up so fast that he falls off the bed, and he goes, honey, it's not what it looks like. And then my stepdad said, get out. So I thought it was funny, so I took a picture and I sent it to my mom because I knew she wouldn't believe me if I didn't have proof. And then she went crazy and tried to kill both of them because, he cheated on her. Then she ended up in like a mental hospital. They declared her crazy or something. So I don't see her anymore. And now I have 2 gay dads, and let me tell you, it's probably the best thing in the world. So basically, to sum it up, my stepdad cheated on my mom with my dad, and then my mom went crazy trying to kill my stepdad and my dad. Then she ended up in a mental hospital, so now I don't see her anymore. And yeah, I have 2 dads now. Now they got married, and yeah, I'm pretty happy. Even though she's crazy, I kind of miss my mom. Story time of how I found out that I was pregnant with my stepbrother's baby. So basically, I was 16 at the time, and my mom didn't let me date. So I had to keep dating this guy a secret from my mom. And every weekend, this guy would come over, and she was dating him, but she didn't think that we were ready to meet his kids yet. Okay, so to be able to hang out with my boyfriend, me and him both told our parents that we were going to a friend's house. And my best friend's mom does not care what she does, so me and him would both always go there. So about a year into dating this kid, me and him were both tired of keeping it a secret from our parents. And legit, coincidentally, the same exact night that I was going to tell my mom about my boyfriend is the same exact night her boyfriend was going to bring his kids over so we could meet them. So I was going to wait till after we met them so she was in a better mood. And when my mom's boyfriend got there, so did my boyfriend. Me and him literally don't know how we didn't catch on. So we both decided not to tell our parents yet. And then me and my boyfriend decided that we were just going to take advantage of it. Because my mom's boyfriend was going to be moving in, so that means I can live with my boyfriend. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. I found out that I was pregnant with my stepbrother's baby. Continuing on with the story, my mom's boyfriend moved in, and because my boyfriend was my mom's boyfriend's son, he also moved in. So every time my mom and her boyfriend, aka my boyfriend's dad, would go to sleep, me and my boyfriend would always end up in the same bed. I don't know how we hid this for such a long time, but they ended up telling us that they were getting married, so me and my boyfriend decided that we were going to tell them that we had been dating for, I think it was 2 years at the time. My mom and his dad were absolutely okay with it, and at that, they made us share a room in our new house. And an exact week after they got married, I ended up taking a pregnancy test just for fun, and it came out positive. I was literally so scared, and 2 days later, my mom told me that she was pregnant. So as we speak now, I have a 2-year-old brother by my boyfriend's dad, and I have a 2-year-old baby by my stepbrother. Oh, also for another story time, I caught my stepbrother, aka my boyfriend, sleeping with my mom. Yeah.